Hello and welcome to Impact Africa, our online talk show program where we get to have conversations with diverse people and organizations who are impacting lives and communities positively. My name is Kemi Akiode Adebayo, also known as Mama K, and in today's program we've got my dear sister, friend, Mrs Ilse Maartens, who is the branch manager for MES, Mould Empower Serve in Cape Town, South Africa. My sister and friend, welcome to Impact Africa.
Thank you, it's an honor.
Okay, I know you.
Yes.
But tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I am a mommy and I'm a wife. I'm a mommy of 6 children. 6 children.
Youngest?
Youngest is 3 and the eldest is 31.
Oh, you're strong and you still look the sweet and good.
That is why you keep on running.
But
yeah, so and I've been married now for 6 years.
Awesome.
And so I'm still on honeymoon.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Lifetime honeymoon.
Lifetime honeymoon. And I have this wonderful ministry, this calling to serve in MES. And so that is a large part of my passion.
I love when you said that, the ministry and the calling.
Yes.
So MES is Mould Empower Serve.
Yes.
Why the name, or what is that name about? Is it about the mission? How did it start?
Okay, well actually, so MES has been around since 1989.
Okay.
So the national organization is 35 years old this year.
35 years old. That's a milestone.
It's a big milestone. But it basically started in Hillbrow, where a bunch of Christians started.
That was in Johannesburg?
In Johannesburg, yeah. Reaching out to people on the street with word, and then they saw, but we can't share the word if people are hungry. And when they started with, doing relief work, they started asking the questions, but what else? How do we stop this cycle? And that is how the organization basically started. And then at that time, because it was still within apartheid, the name was, because, with white people, you had missions, and with black people you had evangelical work,
right?
And so it was,
how do we combine the mission, the evangelical work?
So it was because we work within city centers, so it was called Middelstad Evangelisasie en Sending, the Afrikaans.
I won't even try and pronounce
so it is, so it's in English, it is like the city center evangelical and missions work.
Okay.
But then it had a brand refreshment after, we come through apartheid, yeah. So we just said we are, Mould Empower and Serve.
Okay.
And the Mould Empower and Serve refers to God the Father is molding us as the, working with us as clay. The Holy Spirit is empowering us because it leads us through the Word. And Jesus served. Jesus washed feet.
You see, you learn every day. I didn't know the full meaning.
Yes.
So it's good we're having this conversation, because most of the time we're working and I'm like, MES, Mould Empower Serve. But the way you've described it, it's so powerful, in terms of, molding, Jesus serving, and the Holy Spirit empowering. Exactly. So it's like a 3-in-1.
That's it. Exactly. And you can fit the work that we do as an organization in those 3 categories. Because we do relief work, we do rehabilitation work, and we do developmental work.
And you work with all faith.
That's right.
Not just people.
Not just, So we're a Christian organization, but we work with everybody.
And people with no faith.
Exactly, exactly. So we use the principles of the Christian faith, but in essence, we are not there to push what we believe onto other people. It's just, it gives us a framework of how we work.
And which is what Jesus was about,
exactly.
You know, working with everybody.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes, anyway, don't let me go there. I don't want to get in trouble.
Luke says it all, just read Luke.
Yeah. Okay, so how was the journey? When did you start? You know, I mean, MES was started in 89, 35 years ago, and you know.
So the branch.
When did you start in Cape Town? How did Cape Town start, and when did you start?
How did Cape Town start? So I worked in the South African Police Service and in
South African Police Service.
Yes, I'm a cop.
How do you?
I'm a cop.
How do you even
bring the two
together?
That's all God's grace.
That, the police do serve.
Yes,
it's
they do.
about service.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
When they're supposed to.
Yeah. In the perfect world.
Yeah, in the perfect world.
But no, I had a very strong call in 2005 already when I felt that Dad is prompting me to, you know, exchange the gun for the Bible and come and serve my agenda.
I like that. The gun for the Bible. I love that. You always cover. That's why I love having this chat with you. But I need to keep an eye on that because I know me and you.
We can carry on. So, but I only listened in 2007.
Right.
So then I came to a local ministry that was called Mould Care Mission.
Okay.
And essentially it was soap, soup and salvation, you know, so they had a lot of
salvation.
Yeah, lots of impact on or focus on relief work, not that much developmental work.
Right.
So when I joined, the question was raised because there was 4 partners that said we need to establish a inner city missions organization that speak to the needs of the inner city. And then we went around to other inner city ministries. We went to Straatberg here in Cape Town, we went to Penn in Pretoria, we went to MES in Joburg. And then I think there was a lot of synergy between that which we dreamed about here in the northern suburbs in Cape Town and that which was already happening in Johannesburg. And then rather establishing another NGO, just pack the firewood where the fire is already burning. And then the MES branch was established in 2008.
2008.
Yes.
Okay.
And we.
And how's the journey been since 2008 for you?
Oh, miracle upon miracle. I think that is what I always tell people. Working here is having front row seats to miracles.
Wow.
Because it's not just about the lives that's changing. It is about God's provision. Because there's literally come months where you have no idea where the salaries of your people will come from. No idea. And then, like a week before you have to pay out salaries, there's a donation. You know, and then you can pay salaries. And I mean, that's not...
That's God.
That's God. That's God moments. And I think... And I must also say, I had a very religious upbringing. My dad was a Dutch Reformed minister.
Okay.
My first husband was a Dutch Reformed minister.
Right.
So my whole life in church. So my relationship with God was like that. Structured, you know, religious. I got to know Father when I started working at MES. So my personal relationship with God changed the minute I started working here.
That's mind-blowing.
Because when you deal with people, the most vulnerable, the only thing they have is God. And then you meet people that has nothing and they still jovial. They still
happy. They're
happy.
Believe it. They still have faith and hope.
Yes. And then you start to say, okay, so they know something that
I don't know.
that I don't know. And so that was, on a personal level, that was a journey for me, that I learned that you have to listen to the people that you serve. Because you can learn a lot
from them.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, I'm learning, every day, and every, through programs like this, I know, that things are being done in the community, and people's lives are changing through an NGO, it's a non-governmental organization.
Yes.
Correct. So I think what I'm going to ask you before we go into a break, just to show some of your work, is what are some of the challenges, for you? I know you've touched on it there when you said you don't even know, where the salary, comes at some time. What are some of the other challenges, for you through your work, what you're doing, either personally or an organization?
Sure. I think I'm going to answer you on 3 levels. Operationally, tactically, and strategically.
Right.
So operationally, it is always the lack of resources. Tactically, it is about having the right people in the right positions. Strategically, it's about true impact does not rely just on one organization.
Correct.
True impact in terms of changing the heart of the city as we believe, or just changing the world into a better place. It needs integration of state, church and business, or state, civil society and business. And operationalizing cooperation. It is a challenge. And it's brilliant when it works. It is the more difficult route because you have to consider other people, you can't just do your own thing. And it's all about relationships. And it is also about being vulnerable and admitting when you can't do everything and admitting when you need others. And it is also about being brave when you fail, to try again and to fail and to try again and not to give up. So I think those are the main challenges that we face.
That's a lot. I know I said we're going to stop, but I want to wrap, for this break to show some of your work. I want to not forget this bit. So how have you, as an individual or as an organization, managed to go, navigate through that operational, lack of resources or strategic? How have you managed to do that? I know it's a big question. However, just, how?
I think it is to have, number one, be very clear on what your vision is.
Right.
Because you never shape your vision to speak to your reality. You always change your reality to keep to your vision. So that is very important, to have that very clear in mind. And that's why I also don't like the term non-profits. If I can steal a leaflet out of the book of Simon Sinek, he said, we don't define yourself in terms of what you are not. We are not profitable. We are non-profit. So don't define yourself like that. Define on what you are doing. And we are for impact organizations. We concentrate on the impact that we make. So having that very clear vision in terms of what is the impact that we are doing, and to make that thing come true the whole time. So not to take it off your eye off the prize, and to work systematically. In other words, we have a very clear model that we work from. Intake, intervention, exit, because we said we work holistically with people. We don't do one size fits all. We every person's plan is unique because every person is unique.
Different.
But you have to break what you want to do up into what are we doing when we engage with people? What happens? What type of interventions are there? And then how do we exit people? Right. And that same model we take to our partners to say, well, if we want to affect change within a certain geographical area, how do we engage? What do we do together? And how do we make sure that we sustain any change? In other words, the exit that we plan. That the partnerships can continue moving people. Because we firmly believe that we can eradicate homelessness within a decade. So that's the price. That's the price. And therefore we need to start working together to align agendas. So we don't want to dictate to the security partners how to do your thing. We are saying do your mandate, but let's work collectively on one plan. Let's use one developmental language. Let's define those concepts. What is development for you? What is development for the security guys?
Okay. Achievements for MES. I know we've spoken about the challenges and the problems, which for me it was good to even get a clearer view. And it's about learning. So I'm hoping organizations similar to yours, will be able to learn. So what has been some of the success and achievements? That you're proud of, that you can say, yes, I know it's difficult to measure impacts, especially with what you do.
No, it's important to measure impact. I think monitoring and evaluation and defining impact is very important. I think that is one of the achievements of MES, is that we aligned our organizational processes to establish the theories of change.
Right.
So we work to a problem statement and back from the problem statement to say, well, if this is something that we want to change, what is the objectives? What is the outcomes going to be? And so the measuring your impact is a big thing within MES that we standardize throughout the national organization. So that is something that I'm very proud of. We have an amazing CEO, Leona Pino, and she is just really...
she's based in Johannesburg.
She's based in Johannesburg, but that is one of the key things that she brought to the organization, is the theories of change.
Okay.
I think another thing that the local branch that was good is that we could co-create joint operation committees in different areas. So in all the areas that we work, we have joint operation committees in Durbanville, Bellville and Parow. And one of the products of this joint operation committee is the safe space. So a safe space is a concept that we actually brought to this sector. It was never done before. We had, by sitting together and spending time on the agenda of what is the best for those living and working on the street, the concept of the safe space came up, which is actually a step down facility of a shelter, but it's just a space where people can sleep safely. And that is something that the City of Cape Town actually copied. So they have, I think, 2 additional safe spaces, so that is a big achievement.
How many people can the safe space?
In our safe space, it is 65.
Okay, per night.
Per night, yeah.
Okay, which is good. Which means 65 people for that day to
Extra.
safe,
Yes,
you feed them,
yes.
they
It's
sleep.
still not enough. I
can imagine.
think we've got 830 living and working on the street.
830.
830, yeah, give and take. In Paro, I think we sit about 210, and then in Durbanville, I think we have to recount again, but I think we are turning around by 110. So it's well over 1,000 people just in the suburbs that we are working in.
And we should not have that anymore.
No,
homeless people, and
we should.
we although some people go here, but some people want to live on the street, and we could go on and on about that. But let me now go on to one thing that I know that has changed the world for us all in the last year and more now. Is COVID, the pandemic.
Yes.
How has that impacted MES and the homeless and all the vulnerable people that you work with?
I think
positively,
it's actually,
negatively?
The crisis put the secondary crisis on the forefront. Because now we are in lockdown, everybody's supposed to be in a home, and there's some people that just don't have
a home.
And so I think the plight of those living and working on the street was definitely highlighted. The response to it, I think, the response that the city had, the response that
public.
was positive and negative.
Okay.
I think what came out of that for the NGOs is we started working together. We start pulling resources.
Yes, because everybody was struggling.
Everybody was struggling, and out of that was birthed the coalition, which was amazing because now the threat of, but we can't be working together because we are actually in competition with each other with limited resources. Now suddenly we saw if we start pulling our resources, the impact is great. And so out of that was a couple of organisations banded together.
Okay.
MES, Streetscapes and U-Turn formed a coalition, and we are still continuing with that thing of we need to eradicate homelessness
it's possible. It is possible.
Yes. And U-Turn did an absolutely amazing study called the Cost of Homelessness Study that once again our 3 partners participated in, and that was amazing research. So I think what COVID did is that it allowed us to start asking other sets of questions.
Right.
It's not more of the same anymore. Now we really need to start thinking, how do we solve this? And so there was beautiful spin-offs in terms of that. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. And one of the things you've highlighted, and in the work we've worked together with in the past through Bold Moves and with other partners, is the value and the importance of collaboration and partnership working, and like you said, relationship, building bridges. So now U-Turn and Streetscapes. And MES, and I'm sure there could be other ones. It's like we can do this together, and the impacts, like you said, will go.
It multiplies.
Multiply. So in terms of, because we do celebrate a lot of public holidays in South Africa and around the world anyway, which is good. What kind of celebrations does MES, do, or the World Theme Days, like Homeless Day? Do you do all that at MES?
Yes.
Do you celebrate Heritage Day, things like that?
Yes, obviously, together with you guys, always heritage. But yeah, we do the Valentine, we do the Christmas, Easter.
Even Easter,
Easter is a big thing because it's the biggest thing on the Christian calendar. So we do the World Homeless Day. We will have campaigns online and stuff like that. I think the flip side of that coin, we feel like every day is World Homeless Day.
Yeah, because
we shouldn't just have one day. We should be mindful and constantly and really focus on building those relationships anyway, every day. Showing the love, not just with Valentine's Day. Women's Day, not just Women's Day.
Women's one day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the work that we do in terms of women trapped in prostitution.
That's another big work,
yes. Yeah. So it's different ways that we engage, and that I think the one thing that we need to do is to keep just being constant.
Right.
We are the constant guys showing up.
So what are the current needs for MES at the moment? I'm sure there's a big shopping basket, for it, but what are the key ones, for you that you feel, if there's anybody needing out, listening or watching out there, can say, okay, we can help. Is it volunteers, is it finance, what are the current needs?
I think, once again, on strategic partners, it is, on a strategic level, it will always be more partners.
More partners, right.
And that can be within state, church, or business.
Right.
Because we need exits for our people, and into what do they exit. So we need, the business partners to sit around the table to say, are we going to do social enterprise? So we've got a couple of ideas, I'm sure other people also have ideas. So let's see how we can make something.
Yeah.
So partnerships, always we need hands and feet. Because to serve, to start building relationships, that is how you move people. And I think people sometimes think, but I'm not good with that. But people sometimes, you have one skill that you can teach someone else. You have one thing that you are good at, that you can help people. So always volunteers, and then obviously in terms of an organization like ours, every 50 Rand helps. Donations helps.
Yeah. Because things like one of the things I know yourself, MES, and through Boldman's working with everybody that I've seen is whereby, and working with the likes of VRC, the Front Tracker Corridor Improvement District, is whereby you're trying to discourage people given money at the robots and things like that, the traffic light.
Yes.
And you're saying, you have vouchers, that you give people,
food vouchers
and so on.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good concept.
Yes. It's all about processes. It's the process that you put in place in any given geographical area that will give you a hold on what is happening in our area and how can we solve it? How can we take dysfunction and make it functional in terms of where we want to go?
I told you, me and you can talk, and there's still so much I want to ask you. And I'm finding out I need to be having series with all these wonderful people, follow-up, that are doing so much amazing things, in the community. But one of the things I want to ask before we close, because we're getting there gradually, and I still have so much, because I still want to find out more about you as a person, but we will do follow. I know this is a daunting question, as well in a way, but I just still want to ask it. In your personal opinion, what do you think can be done, to change some of the problems that, I know it's $1 million question. I don't want to focus on the problems because we know some of them, and your work is about the problem, in terms of homelessness and the vulnerable and the prostitute and, all the needy, the people that, we don't normally, they don't feature anyway. What would you say the change that is needed? How can we solve this if we don't want to think about money? If we don't, I know we have all these sustainable development goals, 2030. I don't even know whether we're near it or not. The United Nations come up with, and in Africa as well, with African Union. What do you think, could be, what could help with solving homelessness, with gender-based violence, with destitute, with prostitution, with child labor, I don't know, or for women, I don't know, anything, just pick anything, because, it's about solutions,
I think I think we need to change the narrative.
Mm.
And I know that has been said a lot.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
But it's not about the right viewpoint or the left viewpoint. Because I've seen that now has sort of, speaking, when I'm saying changing the narrative, I'm not saying to speak politically correct.
And that's what normally...
Because, it's not policing people's thoughts, or that's I don't think that is the solution. Yes, and I think that is the big work that you are doing. And that is why that we are supporting is when I'm speaking about changing the narrative, I am speaking about what experiences can we give people to change their perceptions of the other, and to walk in their shoes. Because when you walk in their shoes, you start to understand their world. And then maybe we can show up and together do something without being colonial to say, well, you can't solve anything, let me help you. It is rather, I'm going to be uncomfortable until things change. I'm going to show up even though, as a white person, people will still challenge me in terms of your privilege. So teach me. So teach me. I find the Teddy Roosevelt speech that he did about the man in the arena very useful.
Right, okay. Remind us of that.
To say it's not the critic that is sitting on the outskirts. That's important. It's you showing up in the arena, being, full of blood and sweat and tears and failing and getting up and failing again and getting up again. I think Dr. Bernay Brown refers to that in challenge to courage, and it's that for me. It is always being showing up. Even though it is too daunting, even though people tell you will never solve poverty, you will never solve gender-based violence, you never solve. And it's like, okay, but I'm going to show up anyway. And I'm damn well going to, cheer people on. And people that don't want to come, that is part of the solution, I will scrub up your neck, but you will come. And not to.
Yeah, I do that.
Not to slide.
Okay, I'm going to close now because we can carry on. But like you say, we're going to have follow-ups, and I have questions like, how do young people, how can they, follow up a career in the police because you've got experience, or in an NGO. But we will do a follow-up.
We'll get there. Absolutely.
We will do a follow-up.
I like this.
I know. So, in conclusion, what are your kind of final thoughts or tips or advice that you will give our viewers? So, please, anything at all. Go for it.
Precious listeners. I think the main thing is never give up. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up the fight. Because hope lives, and his name is Jesus. So if he is for us, who can be against us?
That was short and snappy, but that was intense, in terms of some of what we shared from, how MES is coping and working strategically, operationally, even in the midst of everything, lack of funding and everything else, working in collaboration with others, the journey, the molding, the empowering, the serving. You are definitely, you and your team, because I know you can't do it alone, but if you don't have a good team, which changes as well, you might not be able to do it, but each time I believe God will keep giving you that season,
Absolutely.
of funders, of staff, the right people, the right partners, like you said. So I commend you, I commend your work, and there's so much, lives you're changing, even if people don't give you that part. And I know it's not about that for you.
No.
It's not about that for you. I know you, and we know each other well. So keep doing what you're doing, and God will keep lifting you up.
Absolutely.
Keep, living like Christ and using MES as a tool and as a platform, to impact lives positively. And you just keep showing up, like you said, and you never give up. And I like that hope thing. I like that, our hope is in Christ. So.
And luckily, Jesus gives me Mama Kai.
Come
on, man. I have nothing to complain about.
Okay. Thank you. I love you dearly.
Love you.
You know that, and I look forward to more partnership working with you, and to more coming back. Don't you like it?
Yes, I love it.
We're not pulling banners and food. Huh?
Reduce it.
Yeah.
Reduce it.
All right, guys. Well, we could go on and on. Me and this, my dear sister and friend. Just remember all we said today, and I hope it's inspired you to impact lives positively. Wherever you are, it takes one to do one. So just find somebody, find a community, volunteer for MES, look for organizations like MES, in your area. And like, Ilse said, you might think you don't have the skill, but you'll be surprised at how you will benefit to gain more skills, by volunteering or impacting other people like this. I know I talk a lot, and I could go on and on and on, but I've just been inspired more. Until next time, this is Mama K signing off. Remember, God is love. I love you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless.